Hash that out. I'm going to introduce our first guest today. Joining us on the blue couches is Besty Wiest. She's here to talk about the Homeless Persons Memorial Day, which is happening Thursday in Perry Square. This is something that's been going on nationwide, but for over 20 years here in this area, right?
Yes, it started in 1990 as a nationwide initiative.
Wow.
But in Erie, we've been doing it about 20 years.
Talk a little bit about it. What's the purpose?
The purpose is there are people experiencing homelessness who have died this past year. And this memorial, we honor them. It's also, think about it, it is the longest night of the year. So you and I, we're going to go home to our homes. We're going to have a warm, safe place to lay our heads. But for someone experiencing homelessness, they don't have that luxury, that privilege.
And for these homeless people who have lost their lives in the past year, they haven't had a funeral. They most likely didn't have a church service and people going to pay their respects.
So this is a way that we can honor them, we can remember them. And for those of us who have worked in the homeless community, we know them.
Yeah.
And so it's just a wonderful way to maybe help them rest a little bit better.
Yeah. And Betsy, how long have you been working with the homeless here locally?
About, 7 years.
Okay.
Yes.
And so this event is happening Thursday at noon in Perry Square.
At Perry Square.
Open to the public.
Open to the public,
Yeah.
right in front of the stage. And at the end of the service, we will be placing a wreath in Perry Square as a commemorative, way to commemorate those who have passed.
Okay.
You know, the weather is getting colder.
Yes.
The homeless most times head inside if they can to shelters. And so for some people, it might be out of sight, out of mind. You forget they're there and forget there are great needs in our community.
There are, and we need to remember that on any given night, there's roughly, give or take a little bit, 300 people who are looking for a place to lay their heads.
It seems like we do have a number of services to help the homeless. Do you feel that Erie has enough? Are we lacking?
I think when wintertime comes, we never have enough beds.
Okay.
And that's just the reality of it. You know, we could use more beds.
Yeah. So where does the overflow go?
The overflow, it's called Our Neighbor's Place.
Right.
I've not worked that, but what I can tell you is that it moves from location to location for a 2-week period of time. I don't know, quite frankly, what their census is this year, but I do know that they're full.
Right. So if someone's hearing this, and we'll touch back on this Memorial Day that's coming up on Thursday, what can folks, everyday folks, do, especially around the holidays, to help our homeless population?
I am so glad you asked that, because there are things. Contact one of the homeless shelters in town, and there are many, and find out what are their needs at that time. Monetary donations are always welcome, because then those of us who are working in the various shelters, we can use that money to buy the things we need at that time. So reach out, come to the service Thursday, noon, in front of Perry Square stage, and help us to honor those who have passed. Another person there just to remember that someone did walk this path.
Right.
These are real people.
Yes.
Real names.
Yes.
And then will that wreath remain through the year as a reminder?
It will remain for a while.
Yeah, for a while.
Yes.
Okay. Betsy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to see you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for all the work that you do every day
Thank you.
for our homeless population.